It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Sarah is sitting on the edge of her bed, laptop open, scrolling through a retirement calculator she found on Reddit. Her husband is asleep. The house is quiet, and the number at the bottom of the screen says she needs $1.8 million by age 65 to retire comfortably. Sarah is 45. She has $83,000 saved. She's not behind because she's reckless. She's behind because the math changed, and nobody told her when. Sarah's laptop is still open. She just Googled average net worth at 45. The first result says $975,000. She looks at her own spreadsheet. $185,000. The gap feels like a diagnostic report she wasn't prepared for. You've probably seen that same headline. The average American in their mid-40s has a net worth of nearly $1 million. If you're 45 and don't have $1 million, that number lands like evidence you missed something obvious. You start wondering, did everyone else figure this out? Am I the only one struggling? Here's the truth. The number is real, but it's also misleading in a way that makes most people feel worse than they should. The average net worth for Americans aged 45 to 54 is roughly $975,000 according to recent Federal Reserve data. The median? $247,000. That's not a typo. The gap between those two numbers is over $700,000. Here's why that matters. Average means you add everyone's wealth together and divide by the number of people. If you put 10 people in a room, 9 with $50,000 and 1 with $10 million, the average net worth is over $1 million. But 9 out of 10 people in that room are nowhere near that number. The median is different. The median is the person standing exactly in the middle when you line everyone up from poorest to richest. That's the real benchmark. That's your neighbor. That's Sarah. And the median 45-year-old in America has a net worth of about $247,000, not $1 million. The average you keep seeing is inflated nearly 4 times over by people at the top. Sarah earns $92,000 per year. After taxes, insurance, and her $401k contribution, she takes home about $5,400 per month. Her life looks like this. Mortgage, $2,300. Car payment and insurance, $750. Groceries and utilities, $850. Credit cards, minimum payments, $320. Student loans, $280. Subscriptions, phone, internet, $400. That's $4,900 before any discretionary spending. What's left? About $500 per month. Some months it's more. Some months it's less. She has $83,000 in retirement accounts, about $120,000 in home equity, and roughly $18,000 in credit card debt. Her total net worth, around $185,000. She's not at the median yet, but she's not far off. And when she Googles, how much should I have saved by 45? The first result says she should have 6 times her salary saved for retirement. That rule comes from Fidelity. It assumes you started saving at 25. Sarah started at 31. You had no major life interruptions. Sarah had 2. You didn't help aging parents. Sarah does. Housing costs stayed at 25% of income. Sarah's is 43%. 6 times $92,000 is $552,000. Sarah has $83,000. That gap feels like failure. But the benchmark was built for a life she never had the option to live. Here's what almost nobody tells you. For the typical 45-year-old, roughly 60 to 70% of their entire net worth is locked inside their house. Sarah's $185,000 net worth? $120,000 of it is her home. That leaves $65,000 for everything else. Retirement savings, emergency fund, college fund, the vacation she keeps postponing, everything. And here's the uncomfortable part. Home equity isn't money. Not in any way Sarah can actually use without major trade-offs. She can't pay her electric bill with equity. She can't buy groceries with appreciation. If she wants to turn that $120,000 into cash, She has three options: sell the house, and then buy another one at similar prices, refinance, and extend her mortgage into her late 60s. Take out a home equity line of credit at 8 to 9% interest, which is borrowing her own money at a premium. None of those options feel like wealth. When you strip home equity out of the equation, the national median net worth collapses by about 70%. The $250,000 on paper doesn't feel like a $250,000 in the Costco parking lot when gas is $4.20 and the credit card is maxed. Now, let's talk about Sarah's 401k. According to Fidelity, one of the largest retirement account managers in the U.S., by age 50, you should have 6 times your salary saved. If Sarah earns $92,000, that benchmark says she should have about $552,000 in retirement accounts by her 50th birthday. She has $83,000. She's not 6 times her income. She's 0.9 times. And she's not alone. The median 401k balance for Americans aged 45 to 54 is roughly $61,000. When you add IRS, pensions, and everything else, the median total retirement savings is around $115,000. What does $115,000 actually buy you in retirement? Using the 4% rule, a common withdrawal guideline, that's about $4,600 per year, $383 per month. That's not a retirement income. That's a car payment. Social Security will add roughly $1,800 per month for most people. So total monthly retirement income, around $2,200. For context, the median rent in America is $1,850. This is why the gap feels terrifying. It's not psychological. It's mathematical. And about 37% of households in their mid-40s have essentially zero retirement savings. Not a small amount. Zero. Here's the part that makes this worse. Between 2019 and 2023, the 40 to 54 age group was the only demographic in America to lose real wealth. People under 40 gained nearly 50%. People over 70 gained 15%. Sarah's age group? Down 7% in real terms. Not because they weren't working. Not because they weren't trying. But because the window to build wealth easily, cheap mortgages, accessible housing, predictable markets, closed right when it was their turn to walk through it. If you were 30 in 2012, you had a decade of historically low rates and rising asset prices. If you were 65 in 2012, you already owned everything. You just watched it appreciate. If you were 35 in 2012, like Sarah, you were recovering from 2008, barely scraping together a down payment, and by the time you could buy, prices had already tripled. Nobody sent a memo. The system just moved faster than Sarah's paycheck could. There's another layer most people don't talk about. Sarah is part of what's now called the sandwich generation. She's raising a 14-year-old daughter. And she's helping her mom, who's 72 and can't afford to live alone anymore. Her mom moved in 6 months ago. Sarah isn't charging rent, but groceries went up. Utilities went up. Car insurance went up because there's another driver in the house. And the time Sarah used to spend side hustling or learning new skills now goes to doctor appointments and managing prescriptions. According to Pew Research, 54% of Americans in their 40s are financially supporting an aging parent while raising or helping a child. The average out-of-pocket cost of elder care is over $7,000 per year. For many, it's significantly more. That $7,000 used to go into Sarah's Roth IRA. Now it goes to keeping her mom stable. This isn't irresponsibility. This is structural obligation. And it quietly erases the compounding window most financial advice assumes you still have. So where does that leave someone like Sarah? She's 45. She has about $185,000 in net worth. She's raising a teenager and caring for her mom. And she has roughly 20 years until retirement. Here's what financially intelligent people understand at this stage. The race isn't over, but the strategy has to change. They stop comparing themselves to benchmarks written for a world that no longer exists. They focus on 2 things: increasing savings rate, even slightly, and protecting the compounding window they still have. If Sarah can save $1,000 per month for the next 20 years at a 7% average return, She'll have around $520,000 by 65. Is that the $1.8 million the calculator said she needs? No. But it's the difference between retiring with options and retiring on hope. $1,000 per month isn't easy, but it's possible if she refinances her mortgage to lower the payment, negotiates her car insurance, stops carrying credit card balances, redirects even half of what used to go to lifestyle inflation. And here's the one most people overlook. Increase income by even 10% over the next 5 years. Sarah earns $92,000. If she can negotiate to $101,000 by 50, either through raises, certifications, or switching jobs, that extra $9,000 per year, invested at 7%, adds another $85,000 by age 65. She's 45, not 65. This is her peak earning decade. Most people focus only on cutting expenses, but at 45, earning power is often the bigger lever. The math is tight, but it's not hopeless. If you're 45 and your net worth is under $247,000, you're not failing. You're in the middle of the pack. If you're above $680,000, you're doing better than 75% of your peers. And if you're under $50,000, you're not alone. About a quarter of people your age are right there with you. But the number you have today isn't the number that defines you. The number that matters is where you'll be in 2046. Because the average 45-year-old isn't behind because they're careless. They're behind because the system moved the goalposts quietly. The compounding window is narrower than it was at 25, but it's still open for about 20 more years. Whether you use it or not is the only variable you still control. If this gave you clarity on where you actually stand, not where clickbait headlines say you should be, hit subscribe. Because next video, I'm breaking down the exact strategy to catch up on retirement savings in your 40s and 50s, including the accounts most people ignore, the catch-up contributions nobody talks about, and why age 50 is actually a massive advantage. You're not too late. You just need the right map. This is Hadi Invests. I'll see you in the next one.